Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. And that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. There's a brand new video every single day on this channel. I've been making thousands of videos here for years now. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. You should already know what's happening, where the cryptocurrency space is, what's been taking place. I do, and I feel like sometimes it sounds like a joke. I know a lot of times my tone when I talk about stuff comes off as like jokey to people. I can't help it. It's just what it is. But when I say that, like, no, there's not a lot of Bitcoin left, I wish more people were paying attention. I know 3 of you are rolling your eyes right now. Cool. I hope you have contact lenses. But the other part of it is, no, like, this is a real thing that I have where I wonder why people just aren't paying attention. I don't know if it's some sort of relative level of fatigue that has washed over people. Maybe there's so many other things happening in life that people mentally can't even afford to even think about crypto in some form or fashion. It's kind of like how we've gone over before about like investing and saving and putting money away and like buying assets. And it's not something that's difficult, but it does require a lot of dedication and discipline are the words that I'm going to use. But the fact that people within crypto don't seem to care, and you can't tell me that everyone does. I know that some of you might, cool, thumbs up, golf clap. But everyone else doesn't really seem to get it. And I don't really know why. And I haven't really been able to figure out for whatever reason. But it's going to cause a seismic shift in the world of money and the world of finance. But I mean also from the realistic standpoint of even like when we talk about like how to get rich, how to make money, like it's just investing. It's just buying and holding cash producing assets. It doesn't, I think a lot of people, not that they want everything right now, well, kind of, but anyway, the general point of the matter is some of the more popular news over the last few years has revolved around a rapidly shrinking supply of Bitcoin that's actively available for people. One of my friends went over more numbers than I was even like, we were discussing something. He was going over a lot of numbers and he was like, I don't think people really get it. Once again, looping back around to that conversation of, I guess if the average person can't afford 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, their mindset is probably not concerned with Bitcoin or what's happening or where things are going to go because they're kind of, there's a reason why it's called paycheck to paycheck. But on top of that, the actual supply of Bitcoin is diminishing quite rapidly. And we will at some point see gigantic price movements. But the supply that people think is there isn't actually available for everyone. It says Bitcoin's percent supply on exchanges has now dropped below 15% for the first time since 2018. Depleting exchange supply and a depleting OTC balance are pointing to a supply shock and long-term accumulation. The idea of the supply shock came out around a year ago. That wasn't really a phrase. There was never anyone who said it. Similar to everyone talking about like Bitcoin treasuries or a strategic Bitcoin reserve. It's kind of coined now and people use it. But these are like relatively new phrases that people have. We knew at some point the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges would get low enough that there wouldn't be enough for everyone. But the idea of a supply shock is something a little bit more hefty. It literally has to do with the idea of, I don't know if it's a hive mind thing, but at some point everyone will come to the conclusion that like they don't have enough, they didn't buy enough, their friends don't have enough, or they don't have any. And this is the shock. This is the literal crap. I missed the last 15 years. I gotta jump into it now. But by the time people realize what's going on, the going on has already happened and the coins aren't there. So this idea of a supply shock has been more prevalent in the news for the last year or so. Usually coined, termed, said by Michael Saylor and a lot of the other wealthier people within the space who are convinced that imminent, and I mean they've been saying it for a while, that we're going to see that there's so little that the actual buying pressure causes the price of Bitcoin to basically skyrocket. And also long-term accumulation. It sounds simple. No, because a lot of people who get into the space, they end up buying and then they kind of sell. And it sounds funny, right? But the idea of long-term accumulation is what we're seeing from a lot of the older wallets who only have transactions going in. They haven't been selling anything. And these are also now these new corporations who are in the space for, we can only assume, the long haul. Bitcoin exchange reserves have fallen below 15%, suggesting a supply shock as institutional demand from exchange-traded funds grow. It is not just the ETFs. It's all these other companies. We're hearing about them daily who are announcing. It's banks announcing that they're getting into crypto. I told people this was back in 2018, 2019, when we had the first couple of banks who were all announcing that they were getting into Bitcoin to allow their customers to be able to buy, hold, sell, whatever the case might have been. And I was saying, you cannot sell a Bitcoin to someone unless you actually have the Bitcoin. So banks have also been buying for a while. We keep getting this narrow view of who's accumulating. There was news earlier. I think yesterday there was like a $7 million outflow and everyone was so sad and so scared and everyone keeps talking about expiry and this, and it's like, no, that's just literally one line out of thousands that are next to each other that all are accumulating huge amounts of it. Even when there is an outflow, the inflows completely far out surpass it. It is this institutional corporatization, everyone buying Bitcoin at the exact same time kind of thing that's causing all of this to happen. It says Bitcoin's percent supply on exchanges has dropped to near 7-year lows, falling to 14.5% for the first time since August 2028. Data from Glassnode has shown. And there's a cute little chart right there. Fantabulous. Diminishing Bitcoin supply on exchanges may signal an incoming price rally fueled by a supply shock, which occurs when strong buyer demand meets decreasing available Bitcoin. The trend usually signals rising investor confidence and a shift towards long-term holding. Yeah. Not really much more to have to say there. This is going to continue to happen. This is going to get crazier. I don't know why the majority of people within crypto aren't paying attention. I don't know why there isn't, or the only term I can think of is like, lighting a fire underneath someone. There doesn't seem to be people. I told you before, a lot of people I think have checked out. I told you that before a couple of months ago. And I mean, I don't care about institutions. I don't care about companies. I don't care about banks. I'm talking about retail. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about everyday normal people who would benefit from this market if we end up seeing a $500,000, $1 million Bitcoin. I told you in February, if the market isn't moving crazily by July, we're going to see a lot of people check out. And then even then, when the market does move up, retail and normal people need like a shock to them as well. So not a supply shock. They need to see that Bitcoin is at $250,000. That makes them want to jump more into the market, but it seems to just be us, and even just being us is not completely all there at this point. So yeah, we're going to continue hearing about this news. This is not going to be old news. It's only going to get more intense as we continue to hear on a daily basis about these companies and these corporations who are getting into crypto and buying Bitcoin. Yeah, so cool. That's the Glassnode analytical Bitcoin on exchanges continues to drop news. And yeah, let's move on. Also, I'm interested to see what this is going to be and how it's going to actually evolve. A lot of Ripple XRP news over the years has been highly speculative. You can say that it hasn't been, but Ripple as a company has signed a lot of non-disclosure agreements, so they simply can't say what's going on. Ripple has been working with a number of banks and central banks around the world, but to what extent, the public does not know. So a lot of what the news we've been getting, a lot of times we'll have Garlinghouse sitting on a panel announcing that something is happening. We are working with this company, but there won't be any like, and we are doing this like kind of thing. It's more of a lot of the public has to speculate exactly what it means and where it's going to go. And this is what I think some of this is as well. I know it seems cut and dry, if you will, but I think there's far more to actually trying to do something like this that will have a greater effect on the coin and the project and the company. But to what extent? Because I'll also give you some other news on top of that as well. According to a recent report by the Wall Street Journal, Ripple has apparently applied for a national banking license from the U.S. Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, or the OCC. Yes, as it now appears that the lawsuit is over. If you missed it, apparently Ripple and the SEC dropped their cross appeals. Ripple's no longer trying to just pay $15 million. They're going to pay $150 million. The SEC is also done with the lawsuit. It appears that everything is free willy at this point. Speculation is now that BlackRock is going to move in and begin investing in Ripple, / they're going to apply for an XRP ETF, / Ripple at some point in the near ? Future is also going to go public, / there's a lot of movements with their stablecoin and what they're going to be doing with it. And now them applying for a banking license is kind of squeezing all of these things together. But like I said before, to what extent? Like what exactly is going to happen from Ripple getting a banking license? And I say that from the vantage point of someone who, so this is not me diminishing this news in any sort of way. I've just been here long enough that I've seen. Do you remember years ago when the guy from Litecoin, they also, I think they bought a bank as well. You can, I mean, it's like old news. Type in like Litecoin buying bank. It must have been 2017, 2018 or something. A lot of other companies within this space have purchased banks to get their paperwork and their licenses and stuff, and they've also like gotten banking licenses as well. But it's like, what exactly is that going to do? Only thing I can kind of think of is that it then might legally make it easier for Ripple to work with other banks, because hey, we have the same charter, we have the same so-and-so, we have all the same exact things. Then there's really no barrier with a bank being like, you don't have this, this, and this. You can't really complain because banks work together all the time because they're then legally managed under this framework. It says this means that Ripple will potentially be able to operate more like a traditional bank that will be subject to federal banking regulations. Right, but what does that mean? What exactly does that entail for the company, for XRP, for the stablecoin? What is operating like a traditional bank just means you have more obligations for reporting. And for talking, if you have customers, they have to do KYC, they have to do AML. But at what point does that like actually, benefit the actual company? The San Francisco headquartered company launched its highly regulated stablecoin that was December? Wow, time is flying. According to the latest attestation report, the market cap of the stablecoin, who cares? They minted more, yada, 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 so and so and so, blah, 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 blah. Prior to its launch, the stablecoin also received approval from the New York Department of Financial Services, the NYDFS. Now it could potentially boast both state and federal oversight. The CEO, Brad Garlinghouse, stated that this would be a unique benchmark for the stablecoin product. On top of that, Standard Custody, a Ripple subsidiary, applied for a Federal Reserve master account that would make it possible for the company to hold the reserves backing the stablecoin directly with the Fed. So this could be something of a major boost to the actual stablecoin and trying to, let's see, if Ripple becomes a bank or has a banking charter, would they then be able to offer more products to companies and institutions that a normal bank would? Savings accounts, so and so and so, through the actual stablecoin. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. There's no real explanation, and this is what I was talking about before. A lot of what happens with Ripple, like things happen, but the public is usually left deciphering what a lot of these things mean. If you weren't here years ago, there were a lot of bears and people sitting on thrones and helmets and the number 589. It's always some kind of, a lot of Ripple and XRP enthusiasts tend to be quite imaginative in their approach to where things are going to go. But I mean, what else do you actually have to go on? We heard years ago that the Fed, I think, even tested and worked with Ripple, and we're using XRP and all this other stuff. We've gotten multiple reports that the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank have all used XRP and they were working with Ripple. But then the news kind of like falls flat. And then we see the people from Ripple working in the White House, and then XRP gets added to the reserve or the future reserve. And it's always like, we see stuff happening, but what is happening? So as you might have imagined, this was incredibly popular news. This wasn't slightly popular. This was all over the place. A lot of people were talking about it, but a large fraction of it was just speculative as to what this was going to mean and where this was going to go. I'm hoping at some point this year, I even feel like this year is asking too much. The banks and the corporations and the companies, because one of the things, one of the hindrances holding Ripple back was the lawsuit. We heard that multiple times. We can't work with banks and companies and corporations until this lawsuit is over. Nobody wanted to work with the company either, who had a 4-year lawsuit against them by the regulators. As all that stuff is gone, I would only assume we're going to get good news, but I'm hoping we get something more concrete, because a lot of it always ends up just being speculative. That's the Ripple is applying for a U.S. banking license. And yeah, let's move on. Also in the news, this is getting disgusting and really annoying at this point. It's actually kind of frustrating me because I don't know why, and I'm going to say 80 to 90%, and I know that's the number. Why so many people within crypto aren't paying attention, why people without whatever, who are not in crypto. It's really like, I don't get it. I don't understand. There's no other asset class. No other asset class where you could have news like this all the time and just not have people interested in it. Imagine, listen. Imagine for whatever reason our planet's a lot tinier and there's only 21 million homes. And we start hearing that one company bought up 13,000 homes. Another company just bought 800 homes. Another company has 600,000 homes. Isn't it weird then that no one's trying to buy a home, or at least a fraction of a home? Or like, it's just this, I truly don't get it. So the good news, if you will, continues to roll in, but I still feel like very few people are paying attention to it. And it's always that thing. I don't know. I told you before. Years ago, when I got into crypto and I was in one of the bull markets, and I remember I was posting stuff about it. I'll never forget. Back then I was telling everyone. I've stopped telling people because I know they don't really care. People care after the fact. If they see you've seen that meme before. It's like two lines. One of them says Bitcoin $5. One of them says Bitcoin $1 million. People will only care when it's so out of their reach. I told all my friends and family years ago, get into crypto, get into the space. Please put $50, put $100, put anything that you can. I remember Bitcoin went up to 20,000 in 2017, and someone who I knew, I still know, sent me a message, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy! Why didn't you tell me?" And I scrolled up in the conversation to when I had told them to buy it, and I sent the screenshot, and then I scrolled back down and I sent them that photo, and they were like, "Yeah, but I wasn't paying attention then." And it's like, well, you're never going to actually pay attention. I assume even since then they haven't bought anything, but I feel like so many people are waiting to like be left behind. I truly do. I think people want, in some form or fashion that I can't understand. I think a lot of people want to be broke. I think they don't want to have anything. And I know that sounds terrible, and I know it sounds weird. Think of how the world works. How many times have you, over the years, heard about like Tesla doing well, or Nvidia doing well, or Apple doing well? How many times have you been exposed to these things? And I mean, like, at some point you got into an asset investing class, but how many people have you tried talking to in the last 10 years, in the last 5 years, who you know would benefit from investing in Pokemon cards, buying one stock a month, putting away $300 into a savings account? How many of them are doing that? And I'm sure many of you will say that the number's 0. Maybe there's 1, but then you also think, hey, there's 84 people in my life. Why is only one person doing it, or no one's actually doing it? So as we continue to get nothing but good news within this space, I truly wonder about, like, you know, everyone out there who is just kind of pretending it's not happening. This news is from Germany. This is a bank. It's called Sparkassenfinanzgruppe. Germany's Sparkassenfinanzgruppe plans to launch crypto trading for 50 million customers by next summer, marking a major turn point for the country's largest banking group. Yeah, surprise, right? So remember how I said before, and I've been saying for years, how many of you, by a show of hands, think that this bank already has Bitcoin? If your hand isn't raised, it's probably because you're insane. You cannot expect that people are going to create their own liquidity on this platform. You as the bank have to do it. You have to buy up the crypto to have onto the platform. You have to have a substantial amount as well, because you have to provide the liquidity. If they have 50 million customers, and let's say 1 million decide to go onto the app in a year and buy, trade, do all these other things, the app can't say, sorry, we're waiting for other people to join so that they can put their money in so that you can swap into it and then take it out. These banks have been buying Bitcoin for a very long time. It's exhausting to hear that the world is moving into hyper Bitcoinization, and very few people seem to care. Sparkasse will launch crypto trading for 50 million customers by next summer. Another bank called Deka Bank will manage the new service, enabling Bitcoin and Ether trades directly within the app. The move signals growing momentum among German banks to integrate crypto. It's the same thing like I told you before. I am relatively certain that the German government did not sell their coins. I'll try and give you the long and short of it. It's very similar to years ago where Vitalik Buterin had to make other new wallet addresses because everyone kept on looking at his wallet address to see what he was doing with his money. Also, to think that the creator of Ethereum only has one wallet address is absolutely insane. This man probably has at least 50 to 100 of them. On top of that, we're entering a world where Bitcoin is a major asset class, but it's becoming everything. Governments do not want you to know what they have, what's going on at any other given point. Why would crypto be any different? Can you tell me right now exactly how much money the United States government has? Can you write on a piece of paper how much money the El Salvadorian money the government has in all of their bank accounts? Because it's not just one. Can you tell me in real time exactly how much gold the United States has, or how much gold? And I mean not from online, I mean the actual real number. So what we've seen a lot of times is that these companies, corporations, and government, they'll put their money onto a crypto exchange, and the news is there's such a lack of education. People don't understand that the reason that you would do that is to make sure that it's obfuscated. If I send everything to a crypto exchange, you can't differentiate between the actual holdings of that exchange. You then create a brand new wallet. First of all, you're a government. So you just simply contact Coinbase and say, hey, we need your help. We're going to put some coins onto your website, and then we're going to take them all out. Can you please allow this transfer to go through without any barriers? And we're sending it to these other 10, 15 addresses. Can you please help us? And that's how it works. The German government or any other government, they're not desperate for money right now. It's just this really, I just don't understand. And every single time that we get some kind of news about an Italian bank, a Swiss bank, a German bank, a French bank getting into crypto, I look online and people are writing these really weird articles that they're confused. Yeah, but Germany's not super pro crypto. Why in the world would France be doing that? Because they're banks and they talk to other banks. You think that they saw what BlackRock is doing? You think that they're looking at the news from you think that the MicroStrategy news stays between us? You think me and you are the only people who know that there's a company who's trying to get $100 billion worth of Bitcoin? No, that kind of stuff normally pops up in conversation. Hey, how are you doing? How's your yacht? Did you hear about that company who has 600,000 Bitcoin? They've all been in this space for a while. Even crazier is everyone's just kind of letting them accumulate all the coins without any. It's so weird. It's so weird. No one cares. So few people are paying attention, and they're going to care when Bitcoin's so out of their league. It's so far away. They can't afford any XRP. Ethereum's at $10,000. They don't have a job. AI has taken over. Automation took their job. They can't pay their rent. That's when they'll look back and go, oh my gosh. Of course. And it's frustrating, dude. Humans are so annoying. According to Bloomberg, Deka Bank, owned by Sparkasse, will oversee the crypto offering through the group's mobile banking app, enabling direct trading of Bitcoin and Ether. The German Savings Bank Association, DSGV, confirmed the move, stating it will provide customers with reliable access to a regulated crypto offering now allowed under the EU's MICA framework, which took effect in December. So, as companies, banks, corporations, entities, rich families, government offices continue to buy up all the Bitcoin, just remember these moments. Make sure they're always at the front of your cranium as time goes forward. It's exhausting. You really don't get it. Going through this all the time. I saw someone a couple days ago. He called me a baby. He's like, you're acting like a baby. And I was like, you don't get it, dude. I've gone through this so many times in my life. You know how many people I'm no longer friends with? You know how many times I've hung out with people and I hear them complaining about money, complaining about life, complaining. And I mean, it's been so many people, and I try to offer a helping hand. I try to get them out of the rut. I try to help them invest. I try to help them. And then 10 years later, they're in the exact same position. They have no money, nothing in their bank account. They're buying stuff all the time. They're going to concerts. They're in debt. They're using credit cards. And yeah, man, I'm so broken. I'm like, you're exhausting to be around. You know how many people in this space, in the comment section, for years, people talk about their dreams and their aspirations. I want this. I'm trying to buy a house. I'm trying to have this. I'm trying to have so-and-so. I want to be the first in my family to be a millionaire. How many of you have actually made those moves? And I'm not talking, that's of course reliant on the market. But how many of you have been buying crypto, have been buying Bitcoin, have been buying something, have been investing, have been saving, have been putting money away? So, yeah. It's not me being a baby. It's not me throwing a tantrum. And if you think that, please click the X and go away. You don't have to come back here. It's just this constant, like, everyone keeps talking about how they want more, but no one does anything to get the more. And then you have all this opportunity in front of you. You have all these chances. And everyone, I see it's every single time. Whenever we get to the crescendo of this bull run, it's going to be the exact same thing. People will be like, no, I was hoping prices would go higher. I didn't get enough. And then we'll go through a 3-year cycle if, cycles are still here, where people can accumulate cheap coins or accumulate, over the course of multiple months, for the course of multiple years. Then we'll have the same exact thing in 2028 and 2029. It's exhausting. So as banks, the people who lied to us before and told us that Bitcoin was garbage, as they buy up all the Bitcoin, as they get all the Ether, as they start offering staking services, as all these companies and corporations are buying up Bitcoin and XRP and Ether to stake them and to use them and to loan them out and lend them out. And when we start getting news in 2029 that some of these companies are now worth $2 trillion, just think of these moments. Well, that's definitely going to do it for this video. Hope you've all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. Do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.